Pages 9 through 17 were found at a later date and have been added in. Beginning with page 9, breaks that may come their way from here on in. If you see them, give them my best and wish them luck for me. You know, sweet, the first person that came to my mind when Bert mentioned his relatives in Philly and told me their name was this same Max Reese you say married Shirley Anapolsky. I don't remember if I mentioned it to Bert, but if I did, it meant nothing to him. However, next time I visit them, which will probably be this weekend, I'll ask him about it. You say in your letter of the 27th that the one thing you want to do when I come home is to simply go somewhere for a rest for a few weeks. I can think of quite a few things I would like to do, but this one takes top spot with me. 2. Got any ideas about where you want to go, baby? Any old place will be good. Page 10, enough for me, just so long as you will be there with me. Would you want to go to New York, take in all the shows and have a high old time? Or would you prefer some nice quiet retreat out in the country somewhere? How about 2 or 3 weeks of the latter, followed by a week of doing New York and another week or 2 to rest up again? To my mind, that would be the ideal arrangement, but I'm wide open to suggestions. Let's talk about it, shall we, honey? Yes, darling, in a few weeks it'll be a year we've been separated. Quite a stretch for a couple of love bugs that could hardly bear to be separated for a day. Remember that night in New York when I left you at the Nirenbergs to go off with Jack on some business or other? Jack and I spent, page 11, that night in Phil Foreman's apartment, remember? Well, lady, I missed you so much that night I almost went crazy. No fooling. I almost drove Jack crazy, too, in my insistence that he either go fetch you or take me back to you. If someone had assured me at that time that I would have to part with you for more than a year, I would have told him with utter conviction that I just couldn't do it and live. Yet here we are after something like 340 days apart, still wanting each other pretty badly, but somehow managing to exist without weeping bitter tears all over the place, and even managing to laugh occasionally. Love and hope and faith are beautiful and useful things, sweetheart, and they often make the impossible possible. Never, never part with any of them. Page 12. You say you've changed a bit in that year, sweet. I don't know just how you mean that, but this much I do know, that intrinsically a person never changes. You may have changed in outward demeanor, characteristics, habits, etc., but that doesn't worry me in the least. I know my Chippy and all her potentialities inside out, although I'll admit she is most unpredictable sometimes, but then she wouldn't be a woman if she weren't. But superficial features of behavior are puny things, really. They are easily eliminated or changed to one's taste. Those changes you mention must necessarily be superficial to one who knows and loves you as I do. And if I find them not to my liking, well, you know how I deal with those things. I've molded you to my taste before, and I'm confident you would want me to again. Page 13. Right, Chippy? Getting on, I note that Jack met up with Hesh Greenberg in New Guinea. Yes, I know him and his brother well. Back in 31-32, we served paper routes together. Later, we went to high school together. Jack and Hesh were teammates on the neighborhood baseball team. Can't understand why I haven't heard from the kid in so long, though. It must be 3 months since I last wrote to him. I know I don't owe him a letter because I had written only a few days before receiving his letter, and then wrote again. I guess his days are pretty full too, though, and he probably just has time enough to keep up his correspondence with Gloria. In your V-mail of 30 June, you acknowledge receipt of my little bit of literacy, as you so quaintly put it. Page 14. You say you thought it unusual for me, but you didn't say how you liked it. Or was that just your way of not committing yourself? To tell the truth, baby, I didn't think it was the type of thing you'd think good. In order to really appreciate it, you should be an Etusian. I let some 10 or 15 of the fellows read it, and they all got a real kick out of it. I know they did because it is a phenomenon characteristic of the members of most army units, especially those who have been a long time together, that they don't take the trouble to dissemble. That's because everybody knows everybody else inside out, and it would be the height of folly to attempt to deceive one of your buddies in the slightest particular. So when Corporal Hubbard laughed heartily after reading it, I knew that he wasn't putting on just to, page 15, gratify me. And when Klein keeps pestering me for my only copy to send home, I know he likes it. And when Simmons and Overman, who are pretty bright boys and go out of their way to tear me down at every opportunity, I still don't know whether it's because they like me or despise me, say that it's well written, true to type, etc., etc., well, I know they honestly think so too. So you see, sweet, I consider the whole thing worthwhile. And just between you and me and the censor, who has long ago lost patience with the length of my letters and seldom reads them anymore, I'm pretty proud of my first real effort at writing. It gives me a confidence that I haven't hitherto felt. As for your visions of my being a great writer someday, all I can say is that is the one real ambition I have in the way of a career. And page 16. Consequently, my success or failure will be measured by that yardstick. By me, anyhow. Now that June is kaput, I'm waiting to hear what you are doing with your free Saturdays. Wish I could go shopping with you, Ev. Remember how we used to knock ourselves out on so many Saturdays shopping for something we more often than not came home without? Right now, baby, I am alone in the hut. The others are all at the movies or the snack bar. I am sitting on my bunk, my tablet on a green felt-covered bridge table, my left elbow on the table and my head in my left palm. I could go on and on writing, but alas, there isn't much else I can think of to write about. Besides, there comes a point in every letter, page 17, when I start to look back to happier days. This invariably brings on such a flood of nostalgic longing that writing sensibly becomes an impossibility. I have just about reached that point where all I can think of is that I want to be with you, and all I can feel is that if I don't possess you soon, no, not soon, but now, I'll just perish for the want of you, my adorable and adored Evie. Therefore, I must now take my leave once again, but not before I taunt myself with the thought of how sweet you would feel in my arms, and how thrilling your warm and loving lips on mine. I love you so much, my sweet. My thoughts of the pumpkin are most loving ones too. Kiss her for me, darling. My love to all, from your Phil.